I cannot tell you how much I don't want to spend any time talking about Happy Anniversary. Why did I think reviewing every episode was a good idea? I can feel the resentment for it in my guts, like I've just eaten a rotten egg or a sandwich with some meat that should have been thrown away weeks ago. But people keep telling me online that cheese with that lettuce is so delectable. We've been over it. The constant fandom refrain for any episode that didn't cook up the way it should have. But remember Xander's banana hammock and Cordy telling Fish Xander that they could make the relationship work and go fish? Remember Anya and Spike commiserating over not getting to be evil anymore and where the wild things are? And you remember Angel dancing and pretending to be the tour guide and she?
You remember that?
Yes. And as much as I love all of those scenes too, I never felt like they could redeem otherwise lackluster episodes. But I submit to you that Happy Anniversary is worse than any of those, because Happy Anniversary isn't simply lackluster. It's gross. So, given at the time of writing this, I am about to move cross country again, as well as the fact that YouTube has turned off downvotes on videos, I thought it would be a good time to dust off an oldie I haven't resorted to in nearly 4 years. The sub 10-minute episode guide. Quick spoiler warning before we get into this one. I'm going to talk about some of the pivotal events from Buffy Season 6. Aspects of Buffy Season 6 work as a simple comparison for why I think this episode is broken. If you haven't seen Buffy Season 6 and don't want any of the surprises given away, skip this video.
The greater scheme and the big picture. Nothing really matters. Favor.
There's a lot worse things out there than sex.
It doesn't work in spite of you. Nothing should do matter. It works with us.
Why is it that I'm not on the floor this time?
Take on what matters is what we do.
The trash fire opens with Cordy and Wes cleaning up their new offices while Lorne serenades Angel in the old one.
And the British boy, he's going to be playing a huge, well,
You know, at some point, prophecies regarding heroic do-gooders who are constantly in peril start to lose some of their oomph, don't they? Lorne recounts how Jean sang All By Myself, and Lorne saw in Jean's aura that no one on Earth has a future after 10 p.m. tomorrow, which is a neat setup. Lorne supplies the call to action along with a splash of guilt that has been severely lacking the past couple of episodes.
and that is if you're not too busy getting lawyers killed and setting girls on fire.
Across town, we get a boring scene with boring Jean figuring out time paradoxes. Yes, Lorne described him as boring, but that doesn't fix the fact that spending any time with Jean this episode is either sleep-inducing or nauseating. His girlfriend Denise comes and says hello. That night, as Jean leaves the lab, the demons modify Jean's math, and the next day he freezes some bubbles of mercury in time. He runs to celebrate with Denise and accidentally hover dawns the news that Denise is going to break up with him. The conversation between Denise and her friend is horrendous. It feels like it was written by someone who watched Sex and the City and interpreted that as a tragedy about straight white men.
You're gonna give him the sympathy bone, aren't you? It's gonna be dinner, sympathy bone, and adios, Jean. I'm totally right here, aren't I?
Angel has some fights with the Lubbers, who, in a move that feels curiously sacrilegious to me, are wielding Buffy's axie sickly thing from Anne. Denise joins Jean for dinner, who gives her a look that makes me unsure if he's going to freeze her in time during their pity sex or eat her. Jean turns on the time bubble, the Lubbers make it expand. The way the bubble is animated to bend around the building in 3D space is actually a nice little attention to detail. Angel pulls the plug, followed by the scene that once and for all breaks the episode, Lorne encouraging Angel to sympathize with Jean. More on that one in a moment. And Team Investigations has a party to celebrate the episode being mercifully over. Oi. Maybe the thing that blows my mind about the episode the most is Greenwalt and Whedon are both credited with the story and David with the teleplay. But let's run down the good first. There are good scenes. Lornikins and Angel speaking frankly in the car, and the following scene with Team Investigations off on their first case. The second scene is a goofy but nice Clue reference that feels burdened with the B-story periodic problem of the other cast members needing something to do this episode. It's so irrelevant, I actually forgot it existed. But the Lorne and Angel scene is great. For all 4 seasons in which he appears, more Lorne is always a good thing. And their conversation finally contains some refreshing frankness and insight into Angel's current arc that has felt a little painfully lacking until now.
200 highly intelligent law school graduates working full-time, driving me crazy. Why the hell is everyone so surprised that it's working?
That's a great line. Easy to empathize with. I also appreciate the episode's attempt at weaving a complex theme. Jean and his predicament are intended to work as a symbol for Angel. As Angel says in the car,
You want to know what my problem is? I'm trying to atone for 100 years of unthinkable evil. Newsflash, I never can. Never going to be enough. I can't win.
winning something is a defining moment of closure. It is an end state, a period at the end of a sentence, It also represents Angel's entire approach to the idea of redemption. And because of that, he's missing something pretty important.
Darla had a shot at redemption, but they took it from her.
I'll talk more about all that in the video for Epiphany, because holy hecate is this scene just a blink compared to the rest of the episode. But the real problem at play is the inevitability of time.
No need to rush. We got time.
Something that on the surface of it makes Gene, his own impending loss, and his study of time control seem like a rich opportunity for a character study. The issue is in the execution. Gene's character is an incredibly tired treatment of life as a nerd that would be all too familiar to anyone who lived through 80s and 90s pop culture. Commonly, the quote-unquote nerds were targets of abuse in fantasy underdog tales, the very fact of which meant the story would treat even their terrible actions as romantic, comedic, heroic, or cute. Just wacky hijinks. Towards the end of 16 Candles, the hot jockey popular guy puts his drunk and passed out girlfriend Caroline in the car next to Anthony Michael Hall, listed in the film's credits as the geek. He then convinces her that Anthony is him and tells Anthony to have fun, which, after breaking the fourth wall and smiling at the camera, he does. In Revenge of the Nerds, Betty finds the nerdy protagonist Lewis in a mask and thinks that he is her boyfriend, a misunderstanding Lewis doesn't bother to clear up before she starts having sex with him. When it comes to actual reality, every individual gets to decide if they were violated, and both of these scenes lean on that with a "yeah but" defense. As in, yeah but Anthony Michael Hall asks Caroline in the next scene if she had fun and she says she thinks she did. Caroline was cool with it. Or, yeah but when Lewis reveals himself to Betty, she asks if all nerds have moves like that. Betty was into it. There's a very specific reason why yeah buts don't actually apply that we'll get into in a minute. In Happy Anniversary, Gene is being sold to us as a similar, pitiable, romantic nerd. Even Lorne, who is nice to everyone, compares Gene to Beige. Gene's first few lines of dialogue are about the romantic nature of space with time.
Entanglement.
The music, when he hears that Denise is planning on breaking up with him via some pity sex, tells those watching that Gene is the one to feel sorry for. And the episode's yeah but comes in the form of Denise having no impression or understanding of what Gene tried to do to her, and just calmly going through the breakup she came to the apartment already planning. See, she never even noticed. So, no harm, no foul? I couldn't help but think of Buffy Season 6 while watching Happy Anniversary this time through, which explores the same tired old nerdy underdog trope, but with profoundly different results. In Season 6, two nerds we've met previously in Jonathan and Warren, along with Tucker's brother, team up to form The Trio.
We're your arch nemesis. Sees.
Among their various plots during the season, which included a freeze ray, time looping, bank robbery, and an invisibility gun, they invent a mind control device that will turn women into their willing sex slaves. The three of them go to a bar, pick out a girl named Katrina, bring her home, and argue over who is going to have the first turn with her. As they do, Katrina wakes up.
Well, this is not some fantasy. It's not a game, you freaks. It's rape!
Consent is defined as permission for something to happen or agreement to do something. However, one of the important keys to the concept as it relates to sexual intercourse is that both partners need to retain the freedom to revoke their consent at any point. And the second Denise is frozen in a time bubble with Gene literally inside of her, she no longer can do that, and this became a rape scene. Denise consented to having Gene inside of her for pity sex, not for all eternity. Caroline couldn't consent, and Betty was deceived and didn't know what she was consenting to. And the reason justifiable yeah-buts don't exist for this kind of thing is because Betty, Caroline, and Denise are all fictional characters. This was written, which means that the victim never actually decides anything. A writer does. And the writer is deciding that these victims are okay with something that is under no circumstances okay. The fact that each of these scenes includes a follow-up where a fictional character constructed to be taken advantage of says they're cool with this doesn't actually make what happened to them any less reprehensible. The clearest indication that this script doesn't really understand what happened to Denise is that Denise just disappears. And the episode ends with Angel being prodded by Lorne to console Gene. Gene! It's mind-boggling. Sure, Gene is intended to be a symbolic aspect of something Angel is dealing with currently, but that's a structure that the show has already used a number of times. Rachel and Lenny from In the Dark were symbols for Buffy and Angel, us. Ronald, Melissa's stalker from I Fall to Pieces, worked as a reminder of the terrorizing Angelus did to Buffy. But neither of those episodes ended with Angel taking the abuser to a bar and telling them to just be better, man. And Denise is nowhere to be found in Jean's statements about what happened.
Sorry, I had no idea I was putting the whole world in jeopardy or that there were all these demons, which probably explains the whole time in a box disaster. I can't emphasize enough how sorry I am about that.
Yeah, hey guys, sorry. I wasn't trying to cause a time apocalypse or anything. That would have been bad. I was only trying to deny my girlfriend Denise her freedom and future while freezing her in pity sex with me for all eternity. That's all. Sorry, that's my bad, guys. Sorry. Barf.
That's it, and that's all. Oh.